Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of the Studs Up podcast. I am Garfield, I'm here with my co-host Simon Says, and we are going to be reviewing the round of Premier League action that just happened. By the way, you can always give us feedback, just go straight to our Facebook page, Studs Up, it's really easy to find, give us some likes, tell us what you do or don't like about the podcast, we'll always listen to any feedback, we might not like it, but we'll definitely listen to it and we'll go from there. You can always find us as well on our website, it's studsup-football.com. Also, I'd like to give a very special shout out to all the Chelsea fans, I mean 0 of you, that wrote in defending David Luiz from our last podcast. So I'd just like to say that we were right. Not one person in the world likes Sideshow Bob, and he should... In a world. And he should not...
Jeremy Clarkson of you.
It was a little bit, yeah, sorry about that. So basically, we win that argument. So by default, the two sweetest words in the English language, default.
Absolutely.
And without further ado, we may as well get on with the normal podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a pretty interesting round. Not for our tipping, mind you. I'm looking at our tipping results here, and it's just woeful.
Don't even.
Did we just forget that we're even watching Premier League, or I can't explain it. We had a mutual brain fart. That's what we did
happened. A little bit. There were some interesting results in there. But...
I agree. Definitely some things you would call upsets. Definitely some things you would call unexpected. And some that, although you totally can see how the result would happen, we still didn't pick them.
Yeah, but let's start on the big one that we spoke about a lot last time. We both thought it could happen, but neither of us picked it to happen.
Neither of us picked it.
Yeah, okay. We are talking about Tottenham versus Manchester City. What a game.
What a game, honestly. Just writing about it for our weekly review on the website was just fun because... I needed to see City lose. That's right. I really needed to see City lose.
Yeah.
You just want to knock them off.
Morale.
You know what? Call me a tall poppy if you want. Yeah. But they need to go.
All right, Pops.
Tall poppy.
No, I agree. I think it was an excellent result for the league as a whole.
Absolutely.
But what a game from Tottenham.
But can I just give us some props? Although we didn't pick the match.
Yeah.
Although we didn't. We did say that one of two clubs was going to do in City, and it was going to be Tottenham or it was going to be Liverpool.
And now they've set the blueprint down now of how to play City.
Because 2-0 doesn't sound like, a thrashing by any means.
It was a thorough doing over.
Yeah, I think they dominated the match. Tottenham never really looked anything but in control. Obviously, City had their moments. They quite clearly had their moments.
Yeah.
But
well, as any great club is going to with those players, they really missed De Bruyne.
Oh my goodness, they look totally different. I have to take back what I said at the very start of the season about Aguero. They've now become way more reliant.
Remember how I've been saying for a few weeks? I'm like, De Bruyne is their key. He's the man. If you can get him into the game, all of a sudden he transforms that team from very good to next level.
He just gives them this different shade of danger, doesn't he?
It's his way he finds so much great space in between the lines and he can just pull off players. He knows where to find a pocket, and that's an amazing skill. Kind of like similar to Gareth Bale at Madrid. He just knows how to find pockets of space and exploit it and then run at people, which is, of course, one of the great skills of football. Find space and then charge at them.
He's a freak.
Yeah, he's an exceptional player.
Even Kolarov's own goal came from a lot of pressure.
That's right.
So,
although that was Comic-Con level of defending.
It was. I don't know what look, it happens to all defenders. I'm not going to point the finger at Kolarov
Jamie
and say...
Carragher, he did it once or twice.
He did twice in a game.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That was so brutal to watch. But I'm not going to stand here and call him, the new Ivanovic, for example.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening to him
Mind
necessarily.
you, he's kind of like the old Ivanovic, though. Everyone always said he's great going forward, but defensively, and then Pep came in and everyone thought, oh, wow, look at him. He's turned him into a centre-half and he's amazing, but
do you think that's a fair thing, though? I think pretty much every fullback these days looks culpable in defence because everyone's placed so much more importance on attack.
Yeah, that's true. I can think of a couple of fullbacks.
A couple. Versus
but that's
the thousands that are not. Exactly.
Yeah, no,
I
agree. Yeah. They should have probably gone with Gael Clichy because he's more defensively sound.
Possibly, but I can see why they took Kolarov.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that.
But can I just say now, that sets up a really interesting top of the table. I know we don't usually talk about the table itself in these reviews, but that now brings it to, what is it now? It's 2 points covering the top 4?
Yeah.
Since
it's impressive.
When?
Yeah, I know. It's very good.
When?
Well, also, we haven't been talking about the table because it's 7 rounds old.
That's right.
This is the first round where you can start to see at least some kind of...
But even then, there's not a lot of divergence. There's only 5 points covering down to 7th.
Yeah. It's going to be a tight year.
And if you look at the teams that are up there, it's City, Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton, United, Chelsea.
Yeah.
I mean, whoa.
That's going to be your top 7 in one order or another.
That's a titanic struggle.
Yeah.
But look, I don't know what else to say about Tottenham other than, for me, they've really proven themselves to be contenders. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. I would also like to throw out the really crappy headline, Son rising, because he was amazing.
Again, no, he's really come good this season. My goodness.
I actually, I would have been the first person to say, oh, dude, Wolfsburg offered $30 million.
I would have taken
Write him off. Take the money.
I'm with you.
And Pochettino has
I would have been
proved
bathing in those pounds myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have been Scrooge McDucking in that
another
stuff.
ivory back scratcher.
Yeah, okay.
Burnsy.
Yeah, shows us what us football Einsteins, as Mourinho would call us, know. But he was unbelievable. I mean, he was everywhere. He was Harry. You know what he was? He was the perfect blend of Park Ji-sung and an actual good football player who can finish and do other things.
He absolutely was. I mean, I think Tottenham now, this is a result they can build a season around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, they've had a great season to now. They are the only team that hasn't lost now.
Yeah.
Can't even say that for City.
No, absolutely. Okay, here's my question. Where does Harry Kane fit into this when he comes back?
Didn't I just say to you, though? What did I say? And you thought it was very controversial.
You said they might be better without him.
And they looked very good.
They did look very... Well, I'll tell you what I think's going to happen is he's going to have to play... If he wants to play Sissoko on the right, he had a great game, but this is the perfect kind of game for him.
Correct.
So if you're playing Sissoko on the right and you're playing... Probably you'll have to play Son on the left.
Correct, yeah.
With Eriksen in behind Kane.
Yep.
And hope to get that same kind of fluidity. But beyond that, pressing. Now, what Son did so amazingly, with the rest of the team, mind you, is they pressed as a unit. They pressed as a unit. Harry Kane's not going to bring that to the table.
He won't. They'll lose that element for sure.
Yeah. And that's going to be a problem for them.
I think that from a pressing perspective, you've got a lot of teams are trying to do that now because everyone can see how effective it is. But there are very few who are really efficient at it and consistent with it. Tottenham are right up there among the best, if not the best in the league at it.
Well, also, they've got probably the best pressing player in the league, which is Victor Wanyama.
Yeah.
He is so unbelievable.
He's so good.
I remember, do you remember the Champions League game against Barcelona when he was playing for Celtic?
Yeah.
And they had about 14% possession, and he monstered Barcelona into a draw. And he did the same here against City. He's a monster. When he can get out there and press, he's a monster.
He's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to say a poor man's Kante, but, I mean... When you look at transfer fees, he's a poor man's Kante, but really, it's the same style of player.
Yeah.
Tons of energy, accounts for almost two people in the midfield.
I'd prefer to put it like this. He's the modern-day version of Vieira.
Oof, that's a big call, but also I'd probably have to agree with you.
He's becoming that player. He's becoming... his passing game isn't quite as slick as Vieira's, although he had an exceptional game. I think he had the highest pass completion stats of anyone on the field. So, I mean, that's not a downside of his game, but he's such a monster that he really is growing into a key player. I mean, you know, when they bought him, everyone said, is he going to be able to get ahead of Dembele and Eric Dier and maybe like Dele Alli? All of a sudden, he's become the key player.
Yeah, he's a linchpin
that everyone's going to play around.
Yep. He's, like I said, for him, he could very well be the Kante for Tottenham that Kante was for Leicester last season.
Yeah, absolutely.
That linchpin in the middle that really changes the dynamics of a match.
Absolutely. And all of a sudden you look at that team and across the park, I mean, in my opinion, they've got the second best goalkeeper in the league. They've got the best defensive partnership in the league. It's
For sure they do. They have
maybe
the best back four overall.
Possibly. Entirely possible.
Yeah.
They have certainly one of the top 3 best midfield kind of combinations with Wanyama and Ali. If they can play like that every week.
Forget it. Ooh, it's trouble.
And then all of a sudden up front, where you thought last season, obviously they were very good, with Eriksen finally coming into his own, that he signed the new contract, all of a sudden, that's a top
Jansen's
3
looking
again.
good. Son has come from nowhere and really come through. They've got that extra creativity coming off the wing. They
do.
Sissoko looks great.
Yeah, and all of a sudden
Dembele on the bench.
And you look at Lamella and you think, mate, you're not getting into this team.
No way. How's he going to get in?
Yeah, and all of a sudden, that team not out of nowhere, but you know what I mean, is becoming one of the favourites. Like, probably the second favourite now to win the title.
Because
and I know that's really...
It's very perfect.
Yeah, it is very reactive to say that, but just having watched them enough this season, you think, you know what? You guys have had a season to gel, unlike all the other big clubs who've been in upheaval. Last season, you nearly did it. You only got pipped by the fairy tale.
And how many clubs can you say they lose arguably one of the better strikers in the league and they somehow look better? or at least as strong.
As strong.
If not better. But let's just say at least as strong. Very, very
Well,
few
the only
people.
other team that I could think of who's done it recently is Arsenal, who lost Giroud, who is their top striker,
I'd say
but
Liverpool
look much
too.
better without him.
I'd say Liverpool too.
Yeah, I get it. Without
Sturridge is technically our top striker.
Yeah.
We just changed our system though, so
That's
it's a little
right.
different.
It is a little bit different. But no, they look amazing. There's a word for Man City, though. I mean, it's obviously not panic stations for them. It's one game. They've been
not
looking
at all.
amazing.
Of course.
What do you think?
Still favourites for the league in my
Absolutely,
opinion.
they are. So what do you think Pep's going to do when they come up against a team like Liverpool?
Well, I think
so
he's
this
going to
should
play
be
it a lot
your
differently.
worried. Yeah.
Now I'm worried because he
knows what's going to happen
those gaps.
now. Yeah.
He's going to plug those gaps. I just think he's going to. I think he might change the format. I think he might pack the midfield a little bit and overrun us in midfield. He's not going to play player for player because if we are able to outpress them, then this is going to happen to them again because we've got the speed.
They will have Gundogan or however you'd like to pronounce it.
Gundogan.
He'll be or Gundogan. God, I can never pronounce his name. He'll at least be fit and firing, hopefully, by the time he faces you guys. So
Why hopefully? Hopefully?
Well,
what's that about?
I don't know.
Maybe taking
he'll
sides.
take Fernando out of the team, and Fernando is one of the weak links in that lineup. He'll obviously disappear.
He is, for sure.
And then you'll have Gundogan in there, or however you'd like to pronounce it, in there instead. And all of a sudden, that team looks far more powerful, and they've still got De Bruyne to come back.
Yeah, I think he might go closer to a 4-5-1 style. Not exactly a 4-5-1, but I think he'll have really three more pivot style midfielders in the middle there. And I think he'll try and really outmuscle Liverpool from that perspective. Because once those three players in the middle are covered, he's going to know that Liverpool's front three get cut off.
Okay, here's the other thing. I know that Pep is a stickler for wanting to pass it out from the back.
Yep.
With all that high press,
He actually should go route one.
Why didn't you just a couple of times? I'm not saying you have to do it all the time.
I agree.
Just bypass the press.
Just for the record, that's exactly how Leicester did in Liverpool last season.
Absolutely.
They did us with route one.
Yeah.
Because Liverpool completely dominated that match.
Yep.
And we lost.
And this is where I think Pep kind of falls down. I know he's an amazing manager, and no one can ever deny that. But he's so just an adherent to his own philosophy. He's such a diehard, almost like an apostle,
he's wedded
an apostle
to it.
for it.
He's wedded to it.
It really is his religion that all he can do is pass. As soon as he comes up against a team that he can't just pass his way around, he drops the ball.
Which is why I don't think his style of football necessarily applies to anyone other than great teams.
Absolutely.
Which is why when you ask me, is he, one of the greatest managers, I immediately say no, because I have to see him build a side. Klopp doing what he's doing with Liverpool, that bunch of misfits that he's starting to make fire and put in positions to make them work. Guys like Lallana who lost their way completely.
Still a very good player.
Having to reorganise a side, tell players to play in different positions than they would normally.
Milner.
Take really big decisions about moving guys out from, like, for example, Sturridge should have been a guaranteed starter, moving him out. That sort of thing. I just think you look at it now, it takes a lot of guts, and I think that's something that Guardiola has not yet shown for me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I agree. Look, it was a great result for the league. Gee, it was a good game. But we should touch on some of the other games this round. I think we've spent enough time on Tottenham City. Simon says, which one do you want to bring up next?
Well, I do want to bring up Liverpool because we were both wrong
How
on
did
score.
I ever guess?
How did you guess? Well, we both got it wrong in terms of score, but we both got it right in terms of calling the victory to the Liverpool.
Yes. I thought you guys were incredibly poor in the first half, I'll be honest.
I thought it was bad. It was hard to watch. But having said that, I in no way, shape or form felt the match was in doubt at any point.
Really?
Yeah, I never felt it was in doubt.
Okay, that's interesting. I think from Liverpool's point of view, you certainly came out a lot stronger in the second half. I thought losing Lallana so early hurt you guys a lot.
Massively, and I just think the recovery from that was always going to take some time. I just believe in this
he
team's
needed to get them
ability.
to half-time and go, hey guys, this is actually what we're going to be doing here. Because they looked lost without Lallana to link that play from midfield to attack.
That's right. So I am saying this in hindsight, obviously. Hindsight is 20/20 vision. But I definitely felt, I don't know if it's just a newfound belief, but you know what? It's a game like this that means so much more to me than the games that we played against Chelsea.
Particularly
and
away
Arsenal.
from home. Yeah,
away from home, tough match against a team that's not. I mean, I feel bad looking at the table. I feel awful for Swansea.
Just sacked their manager.
That they're languishing, down so low, and I don't think they're playing as bad as their results suggest.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they just had one person in that team who could head the ball up front, that game would have been over for you before they got into it.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree with that.
They missed a hell of a lot of chances in that first half where I honestly thought they could be 3-0 up here and this game could have been put to bed.
But look, let's not take my perspective. I mean, from your perspective, do you agree that this shows kind of a lot of grit in the Liverpool side that we're kind of giving a lot of plaudits to from an attacking verve perspective? Beautiful to watch, all of that. This was more gritty. This was your back
grittiest
from 1-0 down away from home. I mean,
and a tough fixture without one of your key players. It's the old adage, and I do hate it as a cliche, but it is true. If you play poorly and you win, that's the sign of a good championship winning team.
Correct.
So, I mean, there are signs there that Liverpool are slowly starting to flourish. I mean, clearly that team you've got a lot of work to do. Klopp's got a lot of work to do with that team.
Defensively, especially.
Absolutely. But, I mean, while you can still stick goals past teams, you've got a decent shout there of...
And it seems no matter who
making
the team...
the top four, at least.
It almost as though it doesn't matter who the team is.
Yeah.
We're just going to kind of play and hopefully get the results.
Well, Firmino has clearly just become a beast. I mean, he really has grown into just being a beast of a player.
I mean, he's becoming the most important player to the side.
Oh, I think him and Lallana are the two key players. I mean, Lallana to knit the team together, and Firmino to play that great false nine where he harries and he reminds me of in a really bizarre way. Tevez.
Oh, my!
In that he just harries and chases and scruffs down.
He's obviously faster than you think he is.
Oh, he's very
He's
quick.
more clinical than you think he is.
Absolutely.
He's more tricky than you think he is. He's more skillful than you think he is.
And his movement is phenomenal.
By the time he's done, you're thinking, wait a minute, you're awesome. How are you awesome? You know, you have the demeanor of a caveman, yet somehow you've got the panache of a ballet dancer.
Yeah.
It's very strange how they... that's a very good comparison, actually.
Yeah. I kind of see a lot of Tevez in him, if you know what I mean. And
I would take that.
And he's the perfect player for Klopp's system because he leads the line perfectly. He does everything that Daniel Sturridge could not do leading the line in a Klopp team.
Yeah. I think Sturridge is going to have a real tough time getting back in this team.
Yeah.
No, I think he's going to go.
You think he's going to leave?
Yeah.
Wow.
He can't stay.
You don't think he'd be...
His England position will be
it's over.
Tenuous.
Everyone doesn't even talk about him anymore for the England team. It's already all over.
That's because of Rashford and Kane.
Yeah.
But really, he should be there. He deserves a mention.
He should be in the squad.
Especially if there's a 4-4-2 ever. If they ever play 4-4-2, he'd still play good...
When are they ever going to play 4-4-2 anymore?
It depends who they play.
True, but I mean...
They could.
They could, but now
they do have some classic wingers... in
Sterling,
and
Sterling,
Zaha,
and Townsend.
They've got some
even
classic wingers. Puncheon, exactly. They've got players who can play those roles, so I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I reserve judgment until I see who the new England manager is, because Southgate's not going to drop Rooney even.
Bow,
so
bow.
you know, yeah.
Oh my, he will lord Rooney.
Well,
he's going to make him captain and vice captain.
I know. I feel sorry for Southgate because
CVC.
he didn't want the job, and it's been hoisted upon him. So anyway.
What did he expect? Come on.
I know. But anyway, well, I just want to revisit Swansea for 1 second because Bradley got the job, the American.
Yep.
That's a fascinating appointment.
Very
and
fascinating.
I cannot wait to see how he does with that team.
Well, I think he'll do pretty well.
Well, you'd think on his past records, he's never really, managed a quote-unquote big club.
I agree.
But he's the kind of manager that could make it work,
But do you think
Bradley.
Swansea's as bad as their place in the ladder suggests? I don't think so.
Probably not, but they definitely have problems up front. I mean, Llorente was injured for that game, obviously. He didn't play against Liverpool. But his
and that was really critical.
It was, because all of a sudden they had that striker who couldn't head the ball, but he cost them, $14 million? It was ridiculous.
Correct. Like I actually feel like that was kind of the most important loss for them.
It was for that particular game.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah.
Because Route 1 is going to be Liverpool's toughest
That's right.
thing.
That's where you're going to struggle.
Look what happened against Burnley.
Yeah.
We dominated that match.
Yeah.
Pillar to post.
Yeah.
I mean, Burnley weren't even in the match.
Yeah.
But they won because they went Route 1 twice and scored both times.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what's going to beat Liverpool this season.
Speaking of Burnley, I'd like to move on to them really quickly.
I know you love the burn.
I do love Burnley, actually. I think
feeling
they
the burn?
are really... Feeling the burn, that's terrible. I think they're a really
That's
good
from a really
little...
big, long weekend here, actually. He's feeling the burn. She's the burner.
He's the burner. I actually thought that they were at least good for a point against Arsenal. Arsenal got the jammiest victory I think I've ever seen in Premier League history.
And we were both calling a decent victory on both sides.
Yeah.
So that's wasn't what came to fruition anyway.
Well, I will say this, at least that is definitely the game in the past that Arsenal would totally drop points in.
But give them that game when it's all on the line at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah, and then they still might drop points, yeah.
They will.
Peak Arsenal.
I don't mean to be mean to Arsenal fans here, because I think if anyone's going to say it, it's a legitimately honest Arsenal fan. But if they need 3 points to win the title, that game, they're dropping 2 points.
Entirely possible. I mean, history shows us.
History tells us.
History tells us that you're correct.
What's this? Why are you dancing around the issue?
Okay, fine. I thought they were incredibly lucky, and they should have only got away with a point in that game.
That's better.
So seriously, wasn't that the jammiest goal?
It was.
Not only was it offside,
dodgy, disgusting.
Not only was it offside,
I would call
handball.
it. In fact, I would call it an Arsey goal.
There you go. The ultimate Arsey goal
from Arsenal.
Terrible.
You know what? That was a good call.
Okay, fair enough.
Pay
it was okay. It was right in. Let us know. I
feel sorry for Burnley because, like you said, they earned that point.
They did. That was a point in the bag. I thought they actually played pretty well. I thought Stephen Defoe had another excellent game.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was starting to boss around a little bit. I mean, it's
didn't
hard to boss around
necessarily think they were
Arsenal
going to win the game, but I do think they earned a draw.
Well, when they got to about the 70th minute, I thought, bloody hell, they could actually get away with this. It wasn't to be jammiest goal in the history of the Premier League.
Arsiest goal.
Arsiest goal. Okay, yeah, I do like it now. By the way, if you can think of a better Arsey goal than that, I want you to write in on our Facebook page on Studs Up and tell us the arsiest goal in Premier League history, because no one's stopping that goal.
I guarantee there's got to be at least the contenders. 80% of them are going to be Man United goals.
Oh, yeah. The own goal specialist.
Teddy Sheringham, every goal he ever scored was arsey. So there's 100 goals right
but
there.
But at least he wasn't offside and used his hand.
No, that's fine. That sounds more like I don't know. I mean, who does that in the modern era? I mean, it's Maradona style.
It is Maradona style, yeah. Okay, don't write in with Maradona. But
that's a good one.
Think of a jammier goal than that, or an arsier goal if you're a Simon Says fan, and let us know, because I would love to hear one. Who was that defender from back in the day who always scored own goals? I think he's got the record. I think he played for Leicester. I'll come back to you on that. I think it started with A. I think it started with A. I'll come back to it. I'll have a think about it.
Please do.
If it pops in there, I'll let you know. What game do you want to go to next?
Well, I want to go to one that we both got wrong, because I mean, where did it all go?
That was the round.
Us? Yeah, that was like the talk of the round, wasn't it?
Yeah.
West Ham, Middlesbrough.
Oh, you know what? I was going to save it for last because of that amazing goal.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Payet.
I need to be with him.
Payet
he needs to be mine. Like, I know, topically, isn't Justin Bieber doing something here in Australia?
He's coming out soon in March, I think.
And everyone's like, girly fangirling, screaming about that panty dropping.
Yeah, well, that's us with Payet.
My panties are well and truly dropped.
Oh, I know.
Oh, my goodness.
That goal was seriously something out of FIFA,
he beat 7 players.
Yeah, but didn't you think, though, you were watching it and you were like, okay, so that's a FIFA goal. Like, some 16-year-old has picked up a controller and just decided, hey, West Ham, I'm going to give you a free goal here.
Honestly, it's as though someone actually did it. Someone grabbed a controller and said, oh, guess what? I'm actually controlling this match.
If you haven't seen that Payet goal yet, it's lunacy. It's as good as anything Messi's ever come up with.
Yeah, it's seriously that good. And if you think we're kidding, just watch it once.
Yeah.
If you don't
agree...
And
then try not to watch it again and again and again and again and again, because it's that good.
Our challenge for you is to somehow try and even replicate that goal, even on
PlayStation.
FIFA. Yeah, you can't do it.
Good luck.
You can't do it. It's too good. The man is a god.
It's ridiculous.
And I have to say, for them not to win that match with that goal...
Yeah.
Forget it.
Do you think
they're in deep trouble? Not relegation trouble, because they'll get out of relegation, but they're in so much trouble.
Do you think Bilic will get...
Well, they shouldn't. But...
There's been a lot of talk around that he could go already.
Did you not think that's unfair given the overachievement from the season before?
I do think it's unfair. I think one of the things that works against him is twice he's been booted out of the Europa League. And
that doesn't help.
And I think more than anything, it just makes him look like a manager who's good, but not quite good enough.
Falls over one season, that hurdle.
Yeah, one season you go, oh, okay, we get it. Like, something ridiculous happened and we all move on. 2 seasons in a row, though, And now after this start that they've
Why
had...
are you not challenging Europa League at least, or
You
doing
sit
something?
back and you think, wait a minute, there's something not quite right.
I agree with you. But is it sackable? I don't think so.
No, I wouldn't sack him, but I am saying...
Talk about the man who's created the best West Ham club of the last... since the crop of youngsters that came through.
Since Rio Ferdinand and Joe Cole and Lampard and Carrick and Defoe and Glenn Johnson.
That was a generation of greatness.
Yeah.
Think
of that. That is the spine of a title-winning team. That's Rio Ferdinand, Glenn Johnson, Michael Carrick, Frank Lampard, Joe Cole, and Jermaine Defoe.
And they had Di Canio then as well, didn't they?
They did have Di Canio back in those days. But that's all playing in the one juniors all together.
Nuts.
That's ridiculous.
Nuts.
Yeah.
So
that could have been the spine of a title-winning team. I think most of those players have won titles.
But to reiterate what you've said, I won't be surprised if they sack him. I'll be disappointed, and I won't agree with it, but I won't be surprised.
You know, off the top of my head, by the way, just on that point, I think the only one of those players that hasn't won the title is Defoe.
Poor Defoe. But he's only scored 106,000 goals.
Yeah, 13 a season. Every season. Every season.
For a millennium.
Yep.
Since before football was invented.
No, I thought Middlesbrough were actually pretty good for their point.
They were, but you can't argue it.
I know.
They were good for their point. Yeah. They deserved
Except
the draw.
for Payet's moment of just
Except for
lunacy.
For that moment.
Yeah.
Where you shut the door and say, well, give me 10 minutes alone with this goal because I need it.
Yeah.
That Rabona plus this, I mean, if he does one more of these, it's a messy season.
I was going to bring this up, by the way. Do you think he could be the first player in a very long time, and if you can guess the player that did this, it was also for a relegated club that was West Ham, that's won Player of the Year while being at the bottom of the table? It was a West Ham player at the time when they got relegated that won Player of the Year. It's a tough one. No, it's such a tough one. I think they got relegated. Maybe they didn't. They would have been close.
Okay.
It was Scott Parker.
Oh, he won a... Oh, that's right. He did. I remember his
And I'm pretty
PFA.
sure they got relegated that year.
No, I don't think they got relegated.
They must have been close.
Yeah, they probably were close. Tell us.
Yeah, write in and correct me if I'm wrong.
We clearly don't know.
But remember, but I'm thinking, is he going to have a Scott Parker year where the team is dreadful, but
he's so much better than Scott Parker?
Yeah, please, of course. Oh. But is he going to be so good that they just can't ignore him for Player of the Season?
Well, now he's definitely gone.
Yeah, please, 100%. If he wasn't already after that Rabona.
But they're going to get 60 million for him, or maybe 70.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to get relegated. Money. They'll still get 60, 70 million for him.
No.
He's on a contract.
Yeah, true.
Unless his contract has an exit clause, but why would it? After that last season, I highly doubt that.
Well, you wouldn't want to give him one, but he might have one of those specialty clauses, like if Madrid comes in.
But it would still be like 60 or 70 million.
You would want to think so. Anyway, we've spoken enough about
only because of that goal.
Our pure love of him.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's move on to the next game. What are you looking at there? Hull Chelsea.
Again, not quite how we had described. We were both predicting a shellacking. Shellacking didn't eventuate. Chelsea were poor overall.
I thought they were. I thought the change in formation was fascinating. I think it's the one that they'll
desperate.
move ahead. Looks
desperate to me.
No, you could always tell Conte wanted to go three at the back.
Yeah, I get that. But when David Luiz is one of them, it's like you've got two at the back.
And he was still the best defender on the field.
I don't want to say that. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, but he was.
Well, look, I'm going to talk around that because I don't want to actually say those words. So
he clearly was.
Based on what you've said,
yes,
it's actually quite impressive that they came away with that result at all.
What has happened to Gary Cahill? Talk about West Ham defenders going off the cliff.
But he caught the Ivanovic disease.
Yes, he has. He's caught it. He's caught Ivanovic-itis.
He's got Ivanovic-itis.
Yeah,
we've coined it. Dr. Garfield has actually said it.
Well, sir, you have Ivanovic-itis. Please check out of the club and go back to a relegation fodder team.
Please take these, and also leave the club.
Yeah. Wow. They were not great.
No, they were awful.
They had a couple of exceptional moments going forward. The two goals were brilliant.
They were, but that does not a team make.
No, it does not. And I do feel sorry for Hull because they looked pretty good in parts, but they just don't have enough.
They haven't got it.
No, they don't have enough, sadly. Still my favourites for definite relegation, sadly.
I agree. And speaking of relegation, Sunderland. I want to talk about the Sunderland game only
yeah.
because we actually both picked this one.
We did.
And the score.
We did.
both got it. We were 1-1 each.
We did.
Boom town.
Yep.
Having said that, 1-1 for Sunderland is not good enough.
No,
against
it's not good
WBA.
enough. No, and as I said to you last week, I'm like, if they can't at least get a point out of this.
Well, at least your blind, seething hatred of Sunderland, its people,
Only if
and its
Moyes.
club.
Hang on, weren't you the one? Weren't you the
At
one
least
that
that
said
was
no one
sated.
would go to Sunderland?
At least it's been sated by this result. Your blind hatred of Defoe, of
I
black
love
people,
Defoe.
of immigrants.
Wow.
That escalated quickly.
Wow. But that they're relying on their left back
I know.
to score that goal.
Come on.
Oh, that's going to be a long... And particularly now without Januzaj in that team, oh, God, they look slightly useless,
They're
don't
odds
they?
on. They're odds on. Relegation done. You might as well write them a check now for their balloon payment.
It's just... It's
stuffed.
going to be a long season, isn't it? I mean, if they don't do well in January...
Stop reveling. Like he's
I'm not
dancing
even
around. He's
reveling.
dancing around. He's loving it.
Hey, but my boy, Tony Pullett's got a point.
That's right. He's wearing his I Hate Moyes and Sunderland t-shirt today, actually.
No, it just says I hate Moyes.
But yeah, Tony Pulis did the job. I mean, you got to be honest. Albion might have been wanting to win that match.
No, they should have been out to win that
They should have been out to win. I thought they were a little negative.
which they always are away from home.
Yeah,
Chadley played really well, though.
He did, and I think he's going to be the driving force for that side. I think if West Brom can just get out of that mentality, they're better than they think they are.
Yeah, they're not a bad team.
No, they're better than they think
But I mean,
are.
they've also got players that don't even make their bench who are nice and exciting and attacking, like Callum McManaman, for example.
Why isn't he on?
I don't think
could
Pulis
make a
trusts
difference.
him. No, he could.
He could
and
make
this
a
is-
difference.
And that is one of the huge
Bring him off the
oversights.
bench.
Yeah, it's one of the huge oversights of Pulis's management.
Yeah.
Where he'd rather play, 6 defenders in the team.
He would.
Than actually go for the win. But I do get it to a point. If his brief is just keep us in the Premier League,
By the way,
then he does well.
That draw leaves West Brom in 9th, which is pretty good for them.
Mate, if they finish above 15th, they're over the moon. You know what I
They're
mean?
stoked. So,
Yeah.
so I'm actually not. Well, I said they're stoked. So
Hey.
maybe that's a good lead
Yeah.
into
What a segue.
the match you didn't want to talk about. The match that we both called very incorrectly.
What did you think of that game? Before I say anything about it, because I'm about to lose my mind.
I mean, what can I tell you? I'm mesmerized by Manchester United's reprehensible but consistent ability to bemuse me. They are a side that has championship written all over them. They've got it. They've got the players. They've got the
They've got the
manager.
X factor.
They've got the X factor. They've got the balance. For me, Pogba was the X factor that they needed.
was amazing.
He was literally the last piece that they had. They don't look particularly awful in defense. They don't look particularly awful in attack. Yet this keeps happening. The game against Watford, the game now against Stoke. Admittedly, Stoke were a hell of a lot better. Much tighter in defence. They were. There's no denying that they played better. I think that Shawcross marshalled that side
He did
far
very well.
better
He did very
than
well.
he has previously. United were also quite... I don't want to use the word unlucky because I don't like saying luck in games, but they were a little unlucky. There's
Yeah.
a few times that I thought, well, that it's goal time.
Yeah.
And it just didn't fall for
Well,
them.
I can tell you right now, in the opening 90 seconds, when Pogba sent Ibra through, I just went,
it was done, yeah.
It's done. This game's over.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden a save, and I was like, uh-oh, it's going to be one of those games,
So
isn't
how
it?
good was their keeper's game? How good was Stoke?
The save from Lingard that he made
Yeah.
is honestly the save of the season.
Save of the by far.
From
Could
that
be the
range,
same of the last 2
yeah,
seasons.
from that range to not eat just to get a hand to it was a good effort.
Absolutely.
To tip it away, because normally you do see you can see goalkeepers get their hand to it, but then they tip it into the net.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
But all of a sudden
Absolutely.
to save that was ridiculous. It was an amazing save.
It was completely nuts.
I know that I tipped slightly out of jest that I tipped 4-0 last week for us to beat Stoke. But I'm serious. That should have been 5-1. You know what I mean?
I agree.
In terms of chances created.
So this is what I'm looking at. Sounds like I'm making excuses for a team that I hate. But for me, it's just one of those games where on another day, that would have been 5-1.
Any other day, and that was, by the way, the best 90 minutes of football I've seen Manchester United play since Ferguson's day.
I was just bringing up the stats because I couldn't remember them off the top of my head. 24 shots on goal.
Ridiculous.
They're
Ridiculous.
I mean, even your Even look, in 16 are inside the box, 8 were outside the box. It's
just
not like
insane.
you were
we weren't just
peppering the goal.
No.
Your possession was nearly 68%.
Yeah, it was a ludicrous game.
So it was very dominant.
Yeah.
And what I find weirder is to say that United side was profligate in front of goal when you look at what you've got.
I know,
when you got
insane.
Rashford, when you've got Ibra, that whole side has got goals in it.
Hey, by the way, I know how much you love a statistic.
I do.
Ibra is now the worst striker in the league, statistically.
Oh, goodness.
And you can't disprove it because
No.
it's a statistic.
But you know what? How long can that last?
Yeah, exactly. Same as James Milner. How long can that last?
It can last longer than Ibrahimovic. How does that sound?
No way! Ibra's not going to be bottom of that table for long. No, I actually thought he had a really good game.
He did, and I honestly thought it was going to be goal time. I mean, Pogba had his chances.
Oh, 2 glorious chances.
How does it not? Okay, so sometimes the ball, I know it sounds like a cop-out, but sometimes the ball just doesn't fall for you.
Yeah, no,
just
I
doesn't
know,
fall.
yeah.
So my summary, my conclusion from that match is that, yeah, that was a horrible result. I know you were stewing, literally.
I was not
you
impressed.
could smell the barbecue fumes.
Yeah.
You've just popped yourself on that barbecue going, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah, I was not happy.
But I also don't think that you can read much into that. That will happen to a lot of teams this season. That was just one of those.
Here's what I will say about it, though, because I hate the cliche. If you play badly and you win, it's a sign of a championship winning team. If you play that well and don't win, it's the sign of a team that is not going to win the. It's not going to win the league.
I've almost ruled United out of contention. For the Premier League, but I've definitely not ruled them out for a Champions League spot.
No, I think they should still top 4. But
need to
I
ignore the table for now because
I know
like
it's
said,
still
it's 7
early
matches
days,
in.
yeah.
You're in 6th place
after
anyway.
12. After 12, you're happy to have a look at it, and
Yep.
you get a pretty fair go of what's going on.
Absolutely.
But after 7, not so much. But still, it was an incredibly disappointing result. I thought Joe Allen was exceptional.
Yep.
I thought Wilfred Boney was bloody terrible.
He was.
They may as well have been playing with a man sent off.
It should have been you.
Yeah, it could have been me. I would have at
With
least...
your bung knee.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to run much more, but at least I would have been able to trap the ball.
Oh, he was bad.
He was dreadful.
We touched on this, and neither of us could really come to it. What the hell has happened to, personally, I think was a good striker.
Yeah.
We were extolling the virtues of that bit of transfer business.
And he seemed like the perfect player for Stoke, a player who could hold up the ball. But how much more, they looked so much more dangerous as soon as Peter Crouch came on.
I have a conclusion.
Okay.
It's that you and I don't know anything.
That
about
is
anything.
that is the most insightful thing you've ever said.
Well, I just want to know
that's the first time you've known anything
how
that
does
we
that
know
little bit of
nothing.
truth-
Yeah.
How does a bit of truth sit with you? Because
I think it's correct. In your knowing nothing, that's the first time you've known something. That's amazing.
But I'm lumping you into this because you were on the same boat.
Oh, I'm right there
You
with
were
you.
captain of the vessel.
Yeah, it's going down, and I'm still tooting away. No, I don't know what's happened to him. Apparently, if you read reports, he's been very lazy in training. He
really?
clearly,
I hadn't heard
apparently he just is not that interested.
Does he just feel like he's only there for whatever loan period
think,
it is and
yeah.
he'll be back?
I think he just thinks, no, this club's beneath me, I guess. To be honest, I'm not him. I don't really know.
If
but
that's
from
true,
all the reports...
he can go to hell because it's so
poor form.
brutal
It's
to
poor
a
form.
club that deserves better because I think that club deserves a lot more. They've got a good enough side to at least be, top 15.
Yeah. Shaqiri was exceptional.
Oh, he tried so hard.
Arnautovic, exceptional. If they just had
like
one player up...
Arnautovic.
Yeah, he is actually...
Arnautovic.
He's a top 5 player
Yeah.
who's playing for Stoke.
Yeah.
I mean, he played for Inter and a couple of other clubs. So
He could
he's
easily
not...
play for one of the bigger clubs and it wouldn't be
Easily.
weird. If he suddenly started playing for Everton next year, I'd say,
Well,
here
Everton
we go.
wanted him.
Everton how would you
wanted
not
him.
go?
No,
He's a
well...
really loyal guy.
Well, I think he saw the side that they were building and went, wait a minute, we've got Shaqiri, we've got me, we've got Bojan, we've got...
It's a good side.
Yeah.
It's actually the best Stoke side in recent memory, and yet they are, second last. The only group beneath them is your pet hate club, Sunderland. That's it.
Only my paid hate manager. All right, well, I mean... Yeah, it's hard to see what's going to happen with Stoke. They can't be that bad for too much longer. I imagine they'll be the next managerial change.
You think it's almost impossible?
I mean, he's probably got until mid-November to save himself.
Yeah,
at this
they don't want to
stage.
take it to December because that superstition.
That's right.
The fact that most clubs who are that low at that time just don't make it beyond it.
Yeah.
You got to make decisions before then. So.
Yeah, I think he's got until mid-November to show that team can turn it around as him as manager,
absolutely.
or he gets replaced.
So speaking of disappointing league results.
Yeah.
And I know Southampton are a good club, but Leicester would have been proposing that they'll win that match, as did we.
Yes.
A result that we agreed on, and we're both wrong again. Adding further credence to my belief that we know nothing.
That's football Einstein.
That's football Einstein.
Well, I actually thought Southampton kind of deserved to win it, not just draw.
Absolutely. And that's what should be bothering Leicester. So Leicester would be bothered that they didn't get the result they wanted, for sure. They should be more bothered by the fact that in the result that they got that they didn't want, they were outplayed.
Yeah. But I mean, there's an interesting thing, though, about Leicester where, last season everyone tipped them for relegation and they won the league.
Correct.
This season, what is a good result for Leicester? Because, if I'm honest, I don't know. 10th is probably a good result.
Where they
Do you know
now,
what I mean? Yeah, is 10th good?
Well, they're 12th now.
But that's... Well, I'm asking.
But the teams that are above them... Watford, they could get above Watford.
Yeah.
Southampton, West Brom, Crystal Palace. Look, I could see them getting above West Brom.
Yeah.
But I think getting above Southampton and Palace is going to be tough.
It's going to be tough, yeah.
Which means
and then you're into the top 6. Yeah.
That's like 10th.
Yeah. But
champions
is that
to 10th? It's not good enough.
Well, Chelsea went from champions to 11th.
But they're also going to be, at least back up in that top 6-ish.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm asking is, because it's so unprecedented, is that a good result?
No.
Or is it bad?
It's bad.
You think it's bad?
Just as Chelsea
They did spend a lot of money.
And they sacked their manager.
Yeah. Oh, would you sack Ranieri?
I wouldn't. But, by the way, obviously we didn't have this podcast at the time, but I said categorically, I said it on forums, I said it verbally to anybody, I actually begged out loud for Ranieri to retire.
Oh, yeah.
I just said there's no way he can replicate that. He should go out on a high. This is going to be a really tough season. That was before I knew that all of these wonderful managers were coming, and this was before I knew about the buys that were coming. I mean, we already knew at that point that there were groups like West Ham who were on the rise. Maybe not this season.
No.
But, there was Southampton who still looked good. Palace were on the rise. I mean, look at how much these teams have solidified. Everton's rise.
Yeah.
They just didn't keep up, did they?
Well,
they
but the
sold
weird thing
Kante
is,
and they've suffered.
Yeah, and they have, but the weird thing is they kind of have kept up because they've spent the money. No one can ever accuse them of not spending the money. They brought in Musa, they brought in Mendy, they brought in Slimani.
But it's not about money.
No, and I totally
it's about
agree.
balance and the side, and they don't have it anymore.
And the side is imbalanced at the moment. I agree.
They need to change formation in order to rebalance the side.
They do have to. They're not going to, but they do have to. I agree. But, I mean, they've got real problems there. Sacking the manager's not going to help. But Southampton, what a great story. I mean,
great story for them.
Puel has kept that back four intact, and they look really good. I mean, they do have one of the better back fours of the kind of also-ran clubs, if you want to put it that way.
100%. They've got a great back four.
Fonte's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
I mean, Bertrand is the best, probably pure defensive left back in the league.
Oh, for sure. For me, anyway. I would agree. I still think Azpilicueta is probably the best overall left back.
I agree. He's exceptional.
He just does everything so well.
Even though he's also a right back, which makes it even more amazing.
I know. It just makes him a freak.
Yeah. Quetta is just so good.
He's so good.
Yeah. But Bertrand's...
What pushed him to the left back role, actually?
Because of Ivanovic.
But why wouldn't you put him back?
Well, they should put him back now.
I still can't work that out. That's a weird one.
Well, what happened at the time? They obviously let Ashley Cole go. They had a huge hole there.
I get why he was there in the first place, but why would you keep him there?
No, I agree. He should be back on the right.
But anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
We are.
That Southampton back four, I think, is going to be a major reason why they do well this season.
And they
same reason Tottenham. I think we're so caught up about talking about how amazing the attacking prowess of this Premier League is, but I actually think the people that are going to do the best are the defensive sides.
Well, it's that old adage, like goals will make you survive in the Premier League, but defenses will win you the Premier League. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I also think finally they've found in Charlie Austin the player who can lead their line well.
Hey, he's my captain in Fantasy League.
Oh, dude.
He's killing it for me.
Lapping it up.
He's killing it for me.
Absolutely.
He's killing it for me.
All right. Well, we better move on to the next game. How about Everton versus Crystal Palace? Speaking of two of the big kind of also clubs going around at the moment.
And that was a pretty big game, I think.
Yeah, that was my favourite of the round.
Well, you picked it. And you picked the score. I didn't. I went against Everton mostly to drive a knife through the souls of Everton fans.
As a die-hard red, I can see why you'd do that.
As I sit here wearing my LFC cap, my snapback.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But no, I didn't pick Crystal Palace just because, I'll pick anyone instead of Everton. That's not true. I've actually been tipping Everton most weeks.
Yeah.
I actually just thought Crystal Palace might do a number on them.
Yeah.
Everton might be a little bit frustrated, and they very well could have.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting game from that perspective.
Do you want to hear the most amazing stats so far of the season?
You know what? I don't.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
I'll just tell everyone else. You can go get stuff. Puncheon has created more chances than anyone else in the league.
Is that true?
Yeah, no, that's true. You can look that up.
It was Milner like a week ago. She was saying that just to get rid of my stat. Is that are you one-upping me? You one-upman?
Yeah, well, as according to Simon Says, stats cannot be disproven.
Unless I disprove it with another stat.
Well, okay. Well, good luck finding it because it's Puncheon. He's created more chances. Yeah, more chances than any other player. Isn't that amazing?
He deserves it. I mean, he's going well, and
he is a player. He's like a fine wine. He's 30 now, and he just keeps getting better and better with age.
I remember he always had potential.
He was always very good.
He's been such a slow burn.
Yeah.
You almost didn't notice the fact that he's become good now.
No, I know. And he used to be good at Southampton even before they sold him.
For me, he wouldn't slot into United or Chelsea or anything like that. No,
he's never going to be that player.
But of that next tier, he's pretty much as good as you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's been good, and Townsend was good, and Zaha was good, and Benteke was good. I mean, that's a team that's really growing.
They're going to cause a lot of teams. Everton should not be disheartened by that result.
No.
Crystal Palace is going to do this to a lot of sides. And they've got Scott Dan in defence, and they've got a solid defensive
He's injured
lineup.
now, by the way.
He is injured.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big test for Palace.
That could hurt them. But I mean, Everton still, they didn't have their strongest team out on the field, except for Lukaku, because that goal was ridiculous. Oh my God, I love him.
Well, why wouldn't you? The guy is a beast. Nothing he can't do.
No, there's literally nothing he can't do.
He could probably cook bacon and eggs as well on the field.
Oh, yeah, he would.
No
and
pan,
he'd still
no heat sauce.
Yeah, because he's running that hot.
Yeah, his right boot, he'll just stick it on his right boot.
He's left-footed, but sure.
Yeah, that's true. But his right boot is also on fire.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Actually, so is his head.
Yeah, his head is amazing.
His head is amazing.
Oh, and his body. I mean, what?
What?
Anyway.
And how he looks naked.
Yeah, moving on. All right, let's go to the last game of the round. How about Watford and Bournemouth?
Watford and Bournemouth, yes. Well, I mean, again, neither of us called it. Just another one of those rounds.
Yeah, it was one of those ones, though, that we both kind of tossed up the draw and thought, yeah, maybe, but then we went with Watford.
But I really thought Watford would do it. I don't know. I'm still sitting here now wondering, what the hell is Watford doing overall? They're either on or they're off.
Yeah, they are one of those teams. But their front line, though, is ridiculous now. Like, for a lower-tier Premier League club,
excellent.
To have Troy Deeney and to have Isaac Success, and there's pretty good players in there.
These guys are in form as well. They're not just there, they're in form. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little surprise it was a high-scoring match in that regard. Yeah. I think if they're ever going to be fallible, it could be in defence.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't expect was a Bournemouth, ability to keep it to 2-2. I just thought if anyone was going to crumble, it might be them. But I like Bournemouth, so I'm pleased that they got a point out of it.
They did play pretty well.
They did play well.
Scored again.
But I think they both kind of played well. So I think 2-2 was kind of a fair result in the end.
No, I thought it was a fair result for both teams. They're both teams that are like, that lower mid-table. If they both finished 14th and 15th, neither club would be upset.
Well, they're pretty close to each other now. They're 11th and 13th, respectively, Watford and Bournemouth.
Oh, I'll tell you what. If they both finished there in that position, both clubs would be over the moon.
Both on 8 points, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. That's how close that table is at the moment.
Can I just make a reference to something? You mentioned defence is basically where the Premier League is won. If that's true, then Liverpool have already lost. Just looking at that top few, City 7 goals conceded, Tottenham 3 goals, Arsenal 7. You've got Everton with 5, United with 8, Chelsea with 9, Palace with 8, West Brom 7, Southampton 6. Liverpool have 10 conceded already.
In 7 games.
Yeah, in 7
Ouch.
games. 10 conceded. And
I think that will cost you the Premier League.
Yeah, and
I think you'll top 4.
We've scored 18.
Yeah,
so
which is
the equal
ridiculous.
Top. Yeah. But that's a really interesting stat. That's a hard one to ignore.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it won't hold true. There's obviously seasons when it hasn't, but
they won't win the Premier League.
But
I'm willing to say that from now.
Yeah, okay. But most seasons, the best defence will win the league. Well, with a couple of exceptions.
So does that
normally
mean
when it's United? Well, Tottenham and City are the two favourites.
When are you willing to bet against City? Because we're both betting on City for the moment.
Not this season. I'm not. Not yet.
Not at all?
If we get to halfway and Tottenham are ahead of them, then I might be willing to flip.
This will be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think that could happen. If there was... I can't recall off the top of my head the entire fixture list, but
No, of
if
course.
there was the right run of fixtures, you just never
Yeah,
know.
no, you never know. It could happen. But anyway, we should wrap up this podcast. As I said in the last podcast, by the way, there will be no preview podcast this week. Not because we're lazy, but because there's no games to preview. So we'll come back next week to do another preview podcast. We really hope that you've enjoyed this one. By the way, if you'd like to comment on anything that you've heard, anything else that you'd like to just comment on randomly, go to our Facebook page, Studs Up. So easy to find. You can like it, you can listen to our stuff, you can read some of our articles on there, or